right, this is really kind of unfair to have the, you know, the insurance guy at 2:30 to 3 in the afternoon. You know, if we'd have fed you turkey, we'd just let you have like a half-hour nap before we tried this. But you had some barbecue, so you gather around and we're going to talk some insurance. And listen, there's no restrictions on where we go with insurance here. It could be garage keepers, it could be dealer, it could be anything. And you know, how long have you been in the insurance business?
35 plus years.
Only 35 years.
But I'm really 55 years old, it's age me.
If you were a car dealer, I would take that. I'd say that that could be true. All right, so my senior moment is here again. How long have you been selling me insurance?
15 years.
Only 15 years. And I still can't remember. I can't remember his name.
David Metcalf.
Dave Metcalf. It's true. I mean, I'm dead serious. I got a problem, but if that's the least of my problems,
That's
I'm
right,
okay.
That's right.
So, David Metcalf, I want to welcome
He
you.
does remember my name when he has a problem.
Yes, he does.
No, I remind him of your name when we have a problem.
So, let me ask you, Gary, have you ever gotten a claim from me?
No.
Okay, so not those kind of problems.
No, but while I was on the phone just now, I was dealing with the claims.
Oh.
There we go.
All right, so we had one Zoom call with David, and it went pretty well. I was pleased that you guys got a chance to interact with him. Tell us a little bit about your career and how you ended up in the basically the car space, car dealers, garage keepers, and share with the guys that weren't or the gals that weren't on the call, you know, what that's all about.
Okay, so insurance is never anybody's first career. Unless you're born into it. I don't really like the insurance business. I like the people business. I like solving problems, and particularly complex problems. I like that business.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah. As close as you want.
All right, so there we are. I like solving problems, complex problems, dealing with people. Is Tom still here? Tom was telling a little story about how he got tired of dealing with the people, and I told him at lunch, I said, I saw a T-shirt that said, I used to be a people person, but then people ruined it. And so that was kind of his little take on his career in the electrical owning contracting business. But my first career was in the construction business, working for pipeline contractors and building contractors and things like that. And that business kind of went down in the early 70s. And so I wondered, well, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Hung on in it for a little while, and a friend of mine said, you know, I've heard about a job that, because I said I want to get with a manufacturer of something, steel, pipe, fittings, whatever. And he said, I've heard of something, so you might want to look into it. It was John Deere Insurance, tractors and plows, and construction equipment. Because I'd been around construction equipment in my first career, and I grew up on a farm, kind of like, what's your name?
Yeah, I'll take that.
And so, you know, I had some of the foundation qualities that they were looking for. And so I dove into the equipment insurance business, equipment dealer insurance business, and all of a sudden they got into the car dealer insurance business, and there we took off after that. So that was a different company, and they sold a Century, and I got into the independent side. So we had one carrier with John Deere, and now I've got 20 different carriers we go to for various things. But everything that I do is based with a wheel. It's either a car dealer, franchise car dealer, independent car dealer, car rental operator, or a shop, auto repair shop. So that's where your category falls in. And listening to the stories around here this morning, and then talking to a couple of people one-on-one, I thought, you know, this is really neat that you have this group, that you have so many people with so much experience and so much variety of experience, and then another little group of people who are coming in, like Greg, that are coming in to this business and, you know, needing to find out exactly about this compressor, exactly about the electrical, and, you know, designing your space and everything else. So Scott and these other people have pulled out the rocks and plowed the ground for you. It's it's a wonderful thing. And, you know, to not have to pay, you know, $100,000 a year for a franchise. And then, you know, then you still have to do it all yourself. So, you know, this is what makes me interested in this kind of technology and this kind of group and whatever. So that's where I've been. I do it all as far as what you need for startup. You need liability, obviously. Your landlord's not going to let you rent a space without liability. Eventually, you're going to need work comp if you get enough employees together. If you get a service truck, you're going to need some insurance for that. But mainly, your first need is going to be liability insurance, so you can open the doors, turn on the lights. And then, if you're going to bring in customer cars, then you're going to need some garage keepers. So it's a little bit of a complex startup. It's not like a McDonald's or a lot of other businesses. You have to know. You have to kind of anticipate the customer's need. And so we have worked on a formula with this and honed some skills over the last 20 years that kind of help us streamline the process. And again, you know, like I told Greg earlier, we don't do fried chicken restaurants and barbershops. I told you that too. You know, I don't know anything about them. I don't want to. I know about the shop business, the car business, the dealer business. You know, I'm not interested in it. I'm interested in cars. I was thinking about this, I like to say it's Mark Twain, but really, I looked it up a while ago, it dates back to Confucius, because leading edge guy was talking about this. Mark, if over in the little circle over there, if you find something you love to do, you'll never work another day in your life. And, you know, that sounds, I hear that story coming through, you know, several people in this group, and you know, you're passionate about what you're doing, so, you know, it's a no-brainer. And then that's kind of the way I am. You know, I'm an old guy, but I still enjoy working. I can't picture what I'm going to do when I do retire, because I like the people that I deal with. I like the environment I deal with. I like shops and cars and things like that. So, questions?
Yeah, so I want to let you know that Dave and I talked about this early on when we were getting started, if you will, and you know, initially I warned everybody to be careful about how much you tell your insurance agent, because if you bring up that you're using dry ice to clean cars, flags are going to go up and they're going to go wacky on you, most likely. And in any conveyance of information to them is likely going to be lost when they convey it to the underwriters.
Exactly.
And then when the underwriters hear it and they don't know what they're talking about, they're probably going to go defer to someone else within the organization. So that third or fourth tier of conversation is going to be like, I don't know, they're using some crazy wacky chemical to clean cars. What kind of chemical? Well, it's true. CO2 is a chemical. That's true. But if you go down that rabbit hole, it's a little tricky, a little dangerous. So, you know, we deferred to first, hey, just tell them you're detailing cars. It's true. It's not a misstatement. You're not telling them about what chemicals you're using to clean cars. They don't ask you that, so don't bring it up. Well, I thought after some time, and you and I discussed it, it might be better. Dave, can you write policies all over the U.S.? So you don't have to use David. He's a resource if you want to try him out and get a quote. He hasn't always been the least costly insurance for us. There's been a small window in the 16, 17 years where we didn't insure our dealership license with them, but it was very small, and it was not because he didn't want to. It's because auto owners pulled out of the state.
We lost our market.
Lost the market, so there's no choice. We had to go somewhere else. So the bottom line is, you know, he's here to answer any questions you might have about insurance in general, and then detailed if you want to get to him. You know, he's got business cards, and we have his contact, I think, in the Patreon space. You know, you can reach out to him, but fire away with any questions you have about insurance if you're not really certain or sure about something. One thing I didn't like about school, greatest day of my young life was finishing high school. Did not go to college. I didn't like the fact that if you asked a question and everybody thought it was silly, or it was silly to other people, you know, it ridiculed you, and you basically would quit asking questions. And that's not the learning environment that I want to foster here. So don't be embarrassed about asking a question. The idea is, we brought the resource in, you came to be here, this is the moment to actually do that.
Yeah, that's interesting that you said that, because one of my early clients told me, she said, there's no such thing as a dumb question. And, you know, that's true, because if you have the ability to ask a question and you're curious about something, then there's either going to be an answer, or I'm going to find the answer and get back to you, because, you know, there really is not a basis for a dumb question in this business. But one other thing, I have a client in Gainesville that's paying me over $100,000 a year, and my portion of that's very small. But anyway,
What you looking at me for?
paying our company $100,000 a year.
His premium is $100,000.
His premium is
Okay.
$100,000. Okay, so and he said to me, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, he said, you know, I don't know anything about insurance. And I said, you should never tell an insurance man you don't know anything about insurance, because they're just gonna eat you alive. You know, just don't give that away on the first day. You know, just let him find out on his own. But anyway, but I don't expect people to know a lot about this. That's why you ask me questions. Go. Greg, you got to have a question.
Mark.
All right, Mark.
I got one.
All right.
So, as an insurance agent, is there an issue with running a repair tag on a company-owned vehicle driving around on the regular street?
Yes, because you're not paying sales tax on it.
Even if it's registered?
Well, if it's registered, why are you running a dealer tag or a transport tag?
Because, so, like I have the 380 SL.
Yeah.
I bought this car, I used it kind of for promotion.
You're
Okay.
not a dealer.
I'm not a dealer, can't put a dealer tag on it.
Yep.
So I bought the car, paid the sales tax and stuff like that, and then the insurance agent hit me with like $1,500 a year
Surcharge for commercial.
for this car that I put 200 miles
Yeah.
on. And I can't put it under like a Haggerty policy because it's a commercial vehicle,
Yes.
because it's registered in my business.
Right.
So is there any reason I couldn't run my shop repair tag on the car to go to a show and back?
You're test driving it.
And you're in Pennsylvania, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Pennsylvania, every state's got its own particular peculiarities. I don't know, but in general, a transporter tag, a non-dealer tag, is only for moving cars from a shop to another shop, or a shop to a customer location, shop to a dealer location, moving cars, not for any kind of personal use. Florida is one of the highest abuse states for transporter tag abuse. I attend a couple of times a year Auto Dealer Industry Advisory Board. The auto dealers are spearheading the movement to get a crackdown on the transporter tags, because they don't feel it's fair. I don't see the competition, but they're promoting that. Anyway, but it is, because you see people, and I look at people, transporter tags here are orangey and whatever, so you can always spot them. And it's...
But there's two levels. Putting a tag on a car is local regulatory agencies or law enforcement, and it's insurance. There's two elements to why. I mean, you could put the tag on there and drive around, and you get pulled over, you're probably fine. But if you get in an accident, the insurance company is probably going to say,
yeah, you're in a commercial vehicle, and you're to be commended, first of all, for paying your sales tax and your registration, because most of the people that are driving on transporter tags are not doing that. They're going to the auction, paying cash. There's no lien on it, so they don't have to have any kind of insurance that goes to the state or anything else. And so they're driving around to pick up their kids, they go to Publix, have the dry cleaning hanging in the back, and you know, they haven't paid a registration other than that transporter tag, which is like $125 a year, but there's an insurance requirement for $100,000 of liability, but that can be a personal auto policy, and that's all.
Yeah, so it's not, it's sort of like this car in particular, it's not a personal car, this is not my daily car, it's not going to my house ever. This is literally, I used it to go to car shows, I used it to go to Cars and Coffee events, it is used for the business.
Right.
But I'm like, why am I paying $1,500 a year to put 200 miles on a car that is worth like 10 grand?
And you're
Doesn't-
right
it
about-
doesn't make sense.
You're right about Haggerty and Grundy, they don't want, I had.
Do I register my personal name just so I can put it
That's
under
what I
one
would
of
do.
them?
That's what I
Not
would do.
now, because now you're gonna pay tax again.
Not
Yeah,
necessarily.
no, I'm saying for like the future
In the
car, the
future.
next one I buy, that I'm gonna keep for 6 months.
Trade it, and the next one, put it in your personal name. And you're gonna have, like I have State Farm, and I have a use limit of like 7,500 miles a year. And last year I didn't do that, just because of COVID and so forth. But my office at home, and but that would be your avenue. And disclose up front what you use it for. It's a third car. Like if you have, I'm saying it's a third car. If you have 4 people in your family and you have 5 cars, you have that as a designated car that, well, 4 drivers in your family, 4 cars, 5 cars, whatever. You designate that as just an
Extra car.
extra car.
Pleasure.
And so it's just, it's gonna be that kind of use. Even though it's gonna be, and you're actually gonna be better off, because like with any of the standard personal carriers, you can get stated value. And that's better than if you had a shop insurance policy that's just gonna pay you book value, which is not gonna give you anything.
Maybe there's a business accounting reason though not to do that, like.
What do you mean?
Depreciation.
Well, I mean, yeah, there absolutely can be, so
No.
you get, there was a bit of a challenge there, because it's about how you treat, it's about how you treat it in your books, you know, there's some technicalities and interrelatedness, how all that fits together. It is a bit challenging to try to muscle through that, but I think that in the end, you also gotta be careful of your local jurisdictions. Some states, like you can only sell X amount of cars a year, and if you go beyond that, you have to get a dealer's license.
Yeah, we're
And-
15.
Yeah, so that's pretty high. You're 5 in California? Yeah, that's a lot, yeah.
I think we're 5 here.
We're 5 here, yeah. Not many people honor
But
that,
see,
so.
the other thing about accounting is, yes, you could, but you could also charge yourself a rent factor, just like dealers charge themselves a rent factor for their dealer. When times are good, you pay this rent factor. Times are low, you pay this rent factor. And you know, that would be, you could offset your salary or something like that, paying it directly to you, and then that is a tax savings, because it's a rent. It's not
All right,
it's
so-
still income.
We're gonna go down this hole now. This is interesting. Feel free to correct me where necessary to stop me, but I think I've got this right. We're about to venture into this situation. You know, it's a very long-standing, in 40 years of buying and selling, it's a long-standing challenge for people that want to buy and sell and play, make a little money, have some fun, but they're on that, you know, edge of, you know, garage keepers, yes, no, dealer's license, yes, no, it's really hard, really easy, whatever. So I've got these 3 guys that wanna do something fun with cars, and so I invented this concept after talking with David. I don't want to start another dealership. I don't want to put cars that the 4 of us are going to drive over a longer period of time on the dealer license program and have dealer plates in different parts of the country. So David says, why don't you create a rental company? Rental car companies don't pay sales tax. They pay, when they rent a car, they charge sales tax, so you have to have a resale certificate and collect a resale license, but it's a lot different than having a dealer's license, and so that's something that we're going to go down that path. So what we're doing is that 300 SD in the other room, that 450 SLC, a C4S Porsche. Just to let you know, I don't discriminate.
It's an upgrade.
It's an upgrade, yeah. And a 4th car that's not distinguished yet, maybe that S500 coupe that I'm trying to buy for my buddy in Naples.
I think Mark's more biased about Porsche than I am.
Yeah, he might be.
What?
Yeah. So the idea is,
Poor Mercedes, I don't even own a Porsche. I can afford it.
4 guys, every 3 months, we're gonna meet somewhere, probably Savannah. A couple of them are in North Carolina and 2 are here. So we're gonna meet every 3 months and swap cars, talk about our experience with each respective car, and then after we've all driven them, we're gonna sell them. And it's not really about making, we don't wanna lose any money, but it's not about really trying to make a bunch of money, it's about having fun with interesting cars. And so we're gonna create an entity, have rental car insurance policy with David, and so that will be shared between the 4 of us. And we're gonna call it 4 Guys for Gas. And so we're just gonna have 4 cars at any given time that we're gonna swap between the 4 of us and kind of make some fun out of the deal. So the point is, you know, you might consider,
Do you have to have rental car insurance in every state?
Well, you can have multi-states, yes.
But you can have one policy that's multi-state?
Yes.
yeah, so
And you're running that under the same business license that you have?
no, we'll do a separate corporation.
Every local person's gonna have a business license, but when you come to the master policy, then you're gonna have 4 locations in 4 different states as your designated location. One other thing about that kind of business is, and back to your question about your cars for coffee, when you're running a transporter tag, you have mileage limitations oftentimes. You can, it's standard in Florida is 300 miles, then it goes to 900 miles, 1,500 miles, or unlimited. And with a rental car, those restrictions are from the company. In other words, if Enterprise says you can't take this Florida car to California, then if you take it there, then it's bad news for you if you have a problem. But it's still covered. It's just that you're going to be on the list with Enterprise the next time you want to rent, because they're not going to rent to you because you did not disclose that you were going to California. So there's those things to consider, but we have mechanisms in place to overcome those situations.
All right, so I mentioned that we never had a claim with David. So I'll admit about 3 or 4 years ago, I came to the full realization of how this insurance dealer policy actually works. I want to share it with you just so you understand, because it also is relative to the choice of the limits that you put on your customer cars. So let me just take some hypothetical numbers and apply them so you get the gist of it. And I didn't understand this for decades. I have a $300,000 limit, so the gross value of all the cars at any given time of customer cars is $300,000. I have a per car limit of $100,000, okay? So I have $500,000 worth of cars in the shop. So I'm over the limit, right? So if the building is burned, how much do you think I'll get from insurance?
No.
No.
No, you'll get nothing for you.
Well, you get some. So here's what's gonna happen. So they're gonna say, okay, what did you have in the building? Well, I had this and this and this and this. Well, that's $500,000. So you were what percentage underinsured? 20%.
40%.
40? No, 20%. If I had 500,000.
200 over 5 is 40.
40%.
No, if I have 400,000, I said 3, you're right, I did, yeah, so 40%, that's correct, yeah. All right, so I have that disparity. So they apply that disparity to their limit. So their limit at, say for instance, 100 grand, they're gonna apply that 40% discount on each car. So it's not like, I got a little bit of risk, I'm like 100 over on my policy, not so bad, if something happened, I can survive that. That's not the actual number that you're gonna be upside down. It's gonna be, they're gonna apply that percentage difference on the max that they guaranteed you. So I never learned the hard way, but I'm glad I know now. And you know, it's just like the sales tax Montana thing. You can do anything you want. You can state and have as many, you put $2 million in your shop and get away with it until you don't get away with it. Matt.
So, as an long-term insurance advisor, like Scott's situation, he's explained there, a lot of the guys, myself included, your business hopefully grows and evolves. So what's happened to me is I always get these slick young guys or insurance agents, they bring this whole team with nice shirts and the whole thing. And they walk around the building and I
Like
tell
this
them the
one.
story and I explain what we're trying to do. And then they shuffle you off to like the girl in the office. They never see him again. They try to sell you a $7,000 a year policy, but then they never follow up to follow your growth. So like with Scott's scenario here, let's say you're working on Honda Civics, now you're working on McLarens. Like, what responsibility does the insurance agent and then you, like, how do you develop a relationship so that way the guy's watching your back to come? Now, the insurance agent gets to sell us more as we evolve and grow, but my experience has always been they just stick you in a pile and see you later. And then next thing you know, you're underinsured. And you don't even know you're underinsured until something bad happens and you're screwed. So how do you suggest we?
Okay, so there's a couple of
battle?
things at play. First of all, the item we were talking about just now is called the co-insurance penalty. It's in every policy, no matter, every dealer inventory policy that you would have. It's co-insurance. It means you did not insure to value. Okay, so moving on. With our agency, we still operate in the 20th century. We send out a questionnaire every year for the owners to fill out. How many people do you have?
Hate those.
Sorry, it's going to get better. It's going to get going to 4 pages next year. It's how many people do you have? Who's driving the car? Because you don't want to have an undisclosed driver have an accident. Because the undisclosed driver, they say, well, when did you hire him? Oh, last year. Why didn't you ask? Well, didn't think about it. You didn't send me a questionnaire. So you have to ask the questions. Okay, what's your value this year? Okay, if your value is nothing this year, put down nothing. But don't expect it to be nothing in June when, you know, we've gone through a cycle here, and now I've got a dealer who is a member of the list who I'm working on for next week. He's got the same number of cars this year that he had last year, but he's going from 8 million to 12 million, 30% increase. What do you think about that? That's the market today for Highline used cars. And so we got to ask the question every year. And then, yes, we do shuffle you off to a girl in the office. I have an account manager that I could not live without, who handles the, I'm going to say, the normal everyday grind work. I sent her an email at 5:30 this morning. I need an MVR run for this guy. Send it to him in Texas. Okay, and it's done. Okay, those kinds of things that I can't take time to do. First of all, that's not fun. This is fun. So this kind of thing is what I like. I can't say it too many times. I really don't like the insurance business, but it is my career, and it is something I know about, and I'm glad to share my experience. I'm not sure if I'm answering your question exactly, but
Well, how do you as a business owner, no matter what level you're at, how do you as an agent suggest the business owner communicates to you? Like how much responsibility? I mean, because
What's the trigger?
how
right,
do
so-
you get things done?
Hey, I just got 6 more cars come in to get worked on, and they're
Yeah.
worth a lot more than my policy.
Yes.
What do I do?
you call me and you tell me, and we have to send a note to the underwriter, and he sends us, it's going to be this much extra, and we're going to collect the money.
Yeah.
Okay, and you have to let them know.
So like
You can't rely on them
But
to make it round.
you're relying on an annual report to make sure that you're not thinking. So if your agent's not asking you every year what's going on, what's your growth like, that's a problem.
And we're sending you what you had this year. Okay, we're sending you that on one of the pages or the back of the page or something. We're sending you, we have these people, we have $300,000 limit. You know, this is what we have now. Let us know. And some people write no changes and send it back. Other people don't send it back. We have to make a phone call and say, where are you now? You know, and if it's all static, then we're good.
So, a little bit with what you, so like my agent personally, he's one of my customers. He comes in, I service all of his family's vehicles. Whenever he comes in, he walks through the shop.
Sure.
and kind of takes a look, like, Mark, you're a little over, it looks like you added another employee, he's in the shop every 3 months. He's a customer, it kind of works well, so if a local guy can be there,
So what do you know about insurance?
I know nothing.
I know
nothing, so he walks through the shop and is like, it looks like you're over your $2 million policy here, you might wanna raise it now, or hey, now you have 6 employees, we might wanna raise your rates on
Like,
this.
why don't you guys just charge us a fee and like babysit us? Because I
I
feel like
can
I
tell
have
you-
He
to.
does,
I can tell
he
you,
does if it gets away.
I
He
have-
would do that.
I can do that. I have a good friend.
He'll
in-
come see you every
Yeah,
month.
I
will.
babysit them.
What do you say?
I said, I babysit you two.
Well, sorry.
You don't have to apologize for that. I like the attention.
Gets away from me every week.
I have a friend in Texas who I used to work with for years. And he moved to an independent agency there as well after we both left the large carrier that we were with. And he has a risk management fee that he tacks on to every policy every year. It's generally 10 grand because he's dealing with $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 annual premium accounts. And he does go. When he and I were with this other carrier, our loss control and safety director traveled with each one of us, and we had 17 people in Texas, traveled with each one of us 2 to 3 days a month, okay? And we would go to all of our established accounts, we would go to our prospective accounts because he wanted to look at them, because he had to write a recommendation, because can't take my word for it, okay? We have a double standard here to checks and balances is a better word. Everything that I say, somebody else is going to come back check me to say, okay, he has 12 people and I put down 2, paying a premium for 2 people, but if the inspector comes by and sees 12 people, then it's going in, it's going to look bad for me. So, but that's their validation to say, okay, this is what's going on. Probably also every 3 years, depends on the carrier, they're going to send somebody by to look at your shop, look at your facility, to see if you've added a building, see if you've added on. And to count heads, and to count cars.
So it sounds to me like it's kind of like you get a financial advisor after you have money, but you
Yep.
can't get one when you're trying to build money. So
Right.
I can't have a good insurance agent until I have like $500,000 a year in
I
premium.
don't-
No, I know
I'm
that's
not, I'm
not
not
true.
saying that at all.
No.
I'm not saying
I can tell you that
You
the
have to have
reason-
communication.
Yeah,
You have to have communication.
Yeah.
That's the key.
you got the wrong agent.
I pay like, I don't know, $25,000 a year in premium. and I
You
can't
pay a
get
lot more than I do,
jack.
and I got better service, I can guarantee you that.
I'm up here, yeah.
Craig?
So, so with that, how much lead time would you need? So say we get a bunch of cars that come in, or we got some scheduled coming in, or like with Matt's case, he just happens to buy a bunch of random stuff,
Whatever,
stereo stuff,
You
and
get the new
Okay,
employee driving the
I can even
car.
answer that.
Yeah.
If you exceed your limits, you got a problem. If you have a problem after you've exceeded, like, if you're under limit and you say, Joe, bring your 3 cars over, I'll take them on, and you put them in your building and that puts you over, and the building burns down, you're done. So it's up to you to know your limits and to make sure that whatever inventory you have is within that limit if you want to be covered.
can we accept it, and as they're on their way to be delivered, call you and say,
Yes.
hey, we got these
Yes.
coming in like a day or two?
Yes, because there is an unwritten law of agency. If you tell the agent, it is the same as telling the carrier, okay?
So like if we buy a car like on a Saturday, you guys close, I call you and say, hey, I just want
Yeah,
this car, it's
but,
covered.
and I'll tell you something, I just wrote a really nice little, actually, I wrote the Chevrolet dealer last year, and he's buying a Chrysler dealer this year. And I told his business manager, I told him, but I told his business manager, I said, okay, here it is, it's 18.6, do you understand that? He said, I don't know what you're talking about. I said, you call me 18 hours a day, 6 days a week. Emergencies are on Sundays. But if you have a question, there's no such thing as a dumb question, call me, send me a text. I have an office phone with an extension, and I'm not looking at it right now, and I'm not having those calls forwarded to me here. Everybody that I need, well, let me back up. Everybody that needs me calls me on my cell. And I do have those calls. I have one in particular, 8:30 at night. This guy's in Texas. It's 7:30 this time. He's on his way home. And he's got a question because it just popped into his brain. And he's got a 45-minute drive each way. When the call comes in, my wife says, "Who's that?" And I just show her the phone. You know, he's not leaving me a message on my desk phone. He's calling me now. We're going to answer it. We're going to take 10 minutes to answer the question, and that's the way I work. Okay. Everybody does not work that way, and I don't play golf. I don't hunt, fish, whatever. I have work to do, and I have maintenance to do, and I have grandkids that need things and whatever. It's just, you know, we all have other things to do, but you know, if it's important to him, it's important to me. And if I can't answer the phone, I'll send him a text back and say, I can talk to you in an hour, or can it wait till morning? And sometimes he'll say yes, because you've got that same 45-minute drive in the morning. So he's calling me at 6:30 his time on his way in, which is 7:30 my time. And so, you know, but there are, and again, this guy jumped into this job. He's 3 years in now, so he doesn't call me every day. But he jumped into this job as a CFO, and he's got all this cleanup to do with 300 employees and 25,000 rent cars, not rent cars, lease cars to deal with. Okay? So there you go. Does that answer anybody's question? Yes, sir.
Startup business question. Can you insure a detailed business on a residence that's not designated as a commercial property?
Yes. The first people I went to for Greg's business said we will only insure it if it's home-based. And so that was my go-to guy. That was Nationwide.
Yeah.
That was my go-to guy for another venture that we were in 10 years ago that just got bought out by ACB Auctions. But so the answer is yes, and that's why as an independent agent we have a whole variety of carriers. So the agent I put Greg with was Zurich, which is also a good agent, but they don't write in Florida, but they write in Missouri. Okay, so it just all depends. We have to put this jigsaw puzzle together and see how it works. But you know, if it's not Nationwide, it's going to be somebody else that's high quality, because the shop business is actually easier than the dealer business, because even though you're working out of your house, you're static rather than, you know.
Then at that point, you'd have to cover the building and the vehicle?
No. We're just going to cover your homeowner's policy or your building. If you've got a shop building or whatever, and your homeowner's ranch, whatever, doesn't want to put that barn or wherever you're operating out of, if they don't want that on your farm and ranch or homeowner's policy, then yes, we can cover it. If it's a separate structure, but if it's still at your residence, yes, it can still be done. If you've got a garage attached to your house that you can do this in, then you know you're going to have to disclose to your homeowners that, hey, I'm running a commercial business here now. Not a big deal unless you have an HOA that's going to kick you out. But you know, but the answer is there is a path to working out your complex problems.
What can we, like, if you just have a small operation, 2 employees?
Yes.
Maybe 4,000 square foot building, a working area and a storage area, what would be a ballpark?
And you're in Tampa, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Clearwater.
Yeah.
Here's the funny thing that's not so funny. Florida rates are double what they are everywhere else in the country. Sorry.
Yeah, we don't have shovels.
No, it's like when Greg's quote came back, I thought, oh, this is not nearly enough. But it's fine. I don't do it for the money. But to answer your question, on the Zoom call, I said, you know, probably a minimum startup's going to be $2,500 to $3,500 a year, and that's with absolute minimums. Greg has had to have. He had a landlord that. What did they finally want? They wanted $2 million.
Yeah, they wanted $2 million.
$2 million liability. Nobody in the landlord business asked for $2 million.
One person wants it.
Yeah, well,
found them.
You found that property. But there again, he's in Missouri, so he's paying half the price of the rent. So,
Yeah.
you I hope.
Is that just a liability policy? or
That's,
that was
well,
a
that's
garage
just,
keeper in
well,
mind?
no, it's all in a package. But his carrier, his landlord was really counter to what everybody else, we're telling, and this goes for dealers and shops both, tell the landlord, look, who is not really the landlord, is the property manager. They've got a little formula there, you gotta check the boxes, $2 million, check the box, and we're done. But tell them, you're a startup business. You should not have to pay the same rate for a startup business as you do for an established shop. The second thing about that is that when you're starting, tell them you're starting up and you cash is limited. Didn't work, did it? No. So there's no need for you to have to over-insure. But again, it's the formula that they're trying to get. But your original question was about how, as a package, okay? So yes, that would be the liability, the package for the property if you have any. He doesn't own the property, but he's got all his nice equipment ordered or installed or being hooked up soon, so you got that, and you have your customer cars. So as you grow, then you're going to be bigger and better down the road. But starting up, that's probably good enough.
So in terms of coverage, is there any like potential hurdles to insuring a business that's mobile?
Actually, I'm going to say maybe.
Okay.
Mobile is of our, well, we have two classes of carriers. We have admitted carriers who are name brand, and then we have what we call surplus lines carriers who insure the things that other people don't want to insure. Mobile businesses are in that category generally, especially to start out. But we have carriers that do it. But again, you can probably tack on $1,000 a year for a mobile business because of the fact that you are mobile. You're going to all these places. You're not in your same work environment every day. And so there is a higher risk for that. But it's not something that cannot be overcome.
Just keep in mind,
Good question though, because this business lends itself to that on a certain level.
yeah, so always keep in mind, insurance, I mean, think about the people that are putting the money, at risk. It's all about risk. And so if they see more risk liability, you're on the road, you're going different places, you're going to different locations, what's the chance if they get all their questionnaire on your property where you're working stationary, they understand and know the risks better than if you go to 85 different locations during the year. Now they have 85 different scenarios. They could never imagine what all they could be, where you are. There's, could be anything going on. So it's a higher risk value, and so they're going to ask for more. It's going to cost more to go mobile.
Yeah.
Yeah, add on to that real quick. So with a fixed business, you're partially insuring the building itself.
Well, you may not.
necessarily.
You may not. In the homeowner scenario, the homeowner's policy would cover the building, and the service side would just be, the garage keeper.
Your landlord is insuring the physical building. Your landlord's insuring the building, but you're going to insure your contents. And you're going to insure the liability for the premises and your operations. The premises is just the basic part for somebody walking in off the street to do business with you. But then the second component of that is the actual work that you're doing. There's a component to that rate that in the shop business is a higher rate. One other thing about shops versus dealers, shops are usually less expensive to insure than a dealer. And the other thing about the shop business, if it is static, then you've got a clientele that you're working with rather than being 3 counties. And so traveling around is, again, it's a higher risk. Garages, shops, dealers are more expensive to insure than a hardware store. Same scenario with the $2 million liability. you could probably get the $2 million liability for premises for a hardware store for $1,000 a year, okay? For a shop with high-risk things going on in here, gasoline, engines, turning, you know, fumes, whatever, that's gonna be a higher risk exposure, so, than a hardware store, or than a barber shop. Not a fried chicken place, because they get grease and grease fires, but, you know, good questions, though.
Matt? Go ahead, Matt.
So, yeah, so, how much does your business license have to tie to what you report on, to your insurance company as your operation? Here's an example. I have a business license as a wholesale car dealer.
Okay.
I'm cleaning cars with dry ice. I don't want to be an automotive repair center, and I don't want to be, because I'm in California, we have Bureau of Automotive Repair that will come see you. And I don't want to be a car detailer because we're maniacal about water preservation and cleanliness, and I don't want to be considered a car dealer or car wash. But, you know, I guess when I report to the, when we work on the insurance, if I say I'm a detailer, I've got a license as a wholesaler, right?
Well, they don't talk to each other.
No, but I have a business license as a host. So do they want to see my business license to verify what business I'm in?
I'm gonna say yes, because when we, and in most cases, in many cases, you can insure a dealership and a service repair on the same premises.
Right.
It's very seldom that you could not, when I say that, with the same carrier, okay? If the carrier won't do it, there's another one who will insure both classes of business on one policy, which would give you a break rather than having two freestanding policies.
But that would be at a policy level. So the policy level would be that you're a car dealer by business license,
Mhm.
and you're insuring your car dealership, and you're insuring for repair, but you don't have a business license for repair
Well,
necessarily.
but you've got a DBA or something, you're gonna have something to distinguish your accounting and bookkeeping and everything else. You're gonna have something to distinguish yourself from the car sales, more than likely. But to answer your question, it's still a fairly simple fix. Even if you don't have the separate business license, you can get, in Florida, we call them fictitious name. You probably have something like
Yes,
that there, or just register it as a DBA.
We've been at since '94 because SD Enterprises was taken when we came here in '93 or '4. So we're at, you know, Scott Ailes Inc. It was SD Enterprises Inc. doing business as in Florida. So that's why we have two. And it's a bit challenging when you're doing checks and people, you know, want to send stuff to you. They're like, well, wait a minute, who are you? And what? They can't really get their head around it.
But we put both names on the policy, and that's, you know.
Even if you're operating under the same.
Yes, here's the way it goes. You have how your policy is named, okay? It's gonna be whatever your wholesale operation is. Then on the second page, we're gonna put additional named insureds, and we're gonna know what interest is in that. You're still a wholly owned subsidiary of the name on the front page.
Charles?
Next.
If like me that have loaner vehicles,
Yep.
can you help me?
No, I can sell you a rental policy. First of all, loaner vehicles, why? It's a valid question. Why are you doing that?
Like
Where are you?
Here.
Orlando.
Okay.
Like for me, I'm a pro consumer body shop.
Yeah.
So in order for me to combat the insurance steering, they use the rental. So I had 11 vehicles that I used to rent them, but due to COVID, I got rid of them, but I need to revamp.
Okay,
again.
so with 11 vehicles, you need to set up your own little rental agency, okay? Here's the problem, okay? Even if you don't charge them, you have a contract that says no charge, okay? You're not gonna charge them anything. You're making enough off of your body shop work. However, the contract, the rental agreement has a big block on the front page that is called the Florida shift provision. Every state has something similar to this. It shifts the liability from you to them, okay? You have to collect their driver's license. You should have been doing that anyway. you have to collect your insurance card. You really should call and make sure the insurance card is valid. I had a false pretense claim last year at one of my dealers. They sold the car and, you know, it was like April 26th. The policy expired April 20th. The salesman wrote down April 20th. Well, how? That doesn't work. You know, there's no insurance. Pick up the phone, call the guys, call the insurance agent, ask them if it can't be verified, it can't be sold, okay? Because everybody has a sign out there that says, come get me. I told you this, you can't see it. Everybody that's driving by your place can see it, you know? But that's the solution to your loaner problems. Every major insurance carrier in the country is getting out of the loaner car business. They don't want it because that's where the claims hit. Because why should you and your business be responsible for that guy when he's out making his sales calls or taking his kids to soccer? Why should you be, because you're being such a good guy to give him a car, while I had a guy call me 3 or 4 years ago. He wanted to rent Lincolns and things like that, Escalades, on the weekends to people just to give them a nice ride. Well, but he didn't want to worry with the rental insurance. You know, he just wanted to see if he could do it. I said, no. Why? You're going to collect, you know, $100, okay? But he's going to cost you 10 grand. Because your insurance is going to drop you when they find out that you're just giving people cars. It doesn't work. And Florida is the poster child for fraud, okay? So, you know, but it can be done. But every major carrier in the business is discouraging loaner cars. The people who are saying, I still want to do the loaner cars, we give them this path to go. It might cost you $30 a month for each car, for liability only. Okay, and granted, you're probably giving them a 2000 Camry or Corolla or something like that, but you know, it's a $10,000 car. Okay, you're not concerned about the value of the car, but you're concerned about the people they'll run over. I have another one that it's been very sad. One of my dealers, employee, who had a dealer plate for his use to deliver cars and whatever, loaned the dealer plate to his girlfriend. Anybody want to know why?
Afraid to
She
ask.
just suspended license or something?
She didn't have a license or insurance. Okay? So he loaned her his dealer plate to put on her car. Okay? So she wouldn't get stopped. Now, does anybody want to ask what happens after that? No, she didn't get stopped.
She had an accident.
She had an accident. She had somebody on a bicycle
Oh,
who had injuries. Didn't just hit, and that was 2 years ago, and I was just writing up a little scenario for my client this morning before I came here. And a summary of some things that are just, you know, it's going to be bad. And, you know, I checked with claims, I don't know, sometime October, November. I said, how's it moving? I said, it's quiet. It's quiet. So maybe they don't have the right attorney. Maybe the guy on the bicycle doesn't have the right attorney, you know, because otherwise in Florida, they would be, you know, they would be already stroking a check for $500,000.
all right, so what time is
I want
that?
to talk about something fun. Get out of the claims business. Anyway, go ahead.
One more question. Yeah?
Yes.
That kind of
What's
led
fun
back
about
to a
insurance?
question I had about.
Is there
What's that?
What's fun about insurance?
Nothing.
I don't know.
Did I tell you when I started that I don't like the insurance? Did I tell you that? I told you that on the Zoom call.
Yeah, I heard it.
My question kind of went back to Mark's
Sure.
deal with, you suggested instead of going with the transporter plate to go personal. What happens if he needs an employee to run that car to the
With
show or
permission.
to the?
With permission, it's
So
okay.
it's just with permission? Because
Yeah, I have repair tags that we transport cars locally. That like if a wholesale dealer drops off a car and we need to take it for a test drive, yeah, we take it out. But there was always this issue of putting that repair tag on a car that the business owns.
Right.
That the insurance agent's like, "Hey, you're not gonna be protected against an accident. You put that on your own truck, you're not gonna be protected."
It's used with permission, so, you know, it's gonna be on
So
your
if he
insurance.
puts it in his personal name, he can still let
Can
his
still-
employee drive it to the shed.
If
Okay.
it's, you know, and it's not a regular thing, it's an exception. There are exceptions for things like that.
I'm gonna shut you down
All right.
politely. I wanna get some trigger time in on some machines before the day's up. And, what time are we supposed to be at Topgolf tomorrow?
Oh, 11.
11. So I'm also gonna be here early in the morning to do some more work with machines. The guys, anybody wants to come and run the Evo and the PCS, we're gonna play around with those. So, let's break, for a little bit. Yes?
I want to say
Yeah.
thank you for the opportunity to
Yeah.
come up here and talk,
Yeah.
because I tell some people, well, you know, you can ask me what time it is and I'll tell you how to build a watch. But not really, but you know, this business requires communication, it requires understanding. The more you understand about this, the easier my job is, because you understand what's out there. I'm getting it. And I like this. My stack of cards and some pens are right there next to the donuts and cookies, and so give me a call. I'm like your compressor guy. I'll answer questions free of charge. No risk management fee involved. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.
So we'll break a little bit, and then we'll fire up a compressor and we'll shoot some ice.
Yes. Sure thing. It was fun.
That was it.
Take them all.